Hey, bitch. Life is a series of raw and messy broken parts, and it's up to us to embrace it for all the wild fuckery it is. So if you're feeling a little broken, well, you're in the right place. Welcome to Broken Bitches Guide.
When I wanna shine, I got Broken Bitches Guide. Hey. In a goddess so divine, I got Broken Bitches Guide. Yeah. Manifested by design, I got Broken Bitches Guide. Let me hear you from the back. Lifting up my vibes with Broken Bitches Guide.
Welcome to Broken Bitches Guide. I'm your host, Mandy Brooke, and today I'm going to expose you and myself in the process. So if you're a nice girl, you need to listen to this episode. At the beginning of the year, I made a promise to myself that I wasn't going to be the nice girl anymore. So often have I been in a position of letting people take advantage or being agreeable in an effort to not rock the boat when the boat definitely needed to be rocked. And we've all been there. We meet a guy or a new friend or have a business opportunity and we want it to work out so badly. So we give and we allow and we serve these people. And all the while we see the red flags. We see them, bitch, and we ignore them and explain it away because we want it to work out so badly. We give them the benefit of the doubt and let them take advantage of us and our time, and we end up becoming the advocate for their behavior to our friends and our family, and we leave encounters with them feeling that icky, shameful dread feeling, you know what I mean? And then eventually, after we hit the wall, we blame them for being dickheads in the end. But let me ask you a really hard question, bitch. Would you blame a mountain lion in the wild for devouring an elk if the elk was standing right in front of it? Are they the bad guys here? Or are they simply selfish humans taking what is being freely given to them? The brutal truth is we live in a very harsh, wild, dog-eat-dog world, and most people want something for nothing. So it's time for us to recognize that in the people in our own lives and start truly listening to our guts. Us broken bitches are feelers, healers, and empaths, and we need to know how to protect our energy because there are animals out there that are going to suck us dry and not feel 1 ounce of guilt about it. But it starts with us. Today, we're going to talk about how to get out from under the thumb of being the nice girl and start fucking shit up and owning our lives. But a little warning before I get into this, that these tips in no way relate to a relationship involving physical or mental abuse. And if you're finding yourself in those situations, there is help available. Please call the domestic violence hotline at 1-800-799-7233. There are 5 main points I'll be making in this episode pertaining to people pleasing, how to get out of it, and what to do when you're in that position of power. And I'll also be disclosing my own personal stories of being way too nice and what I've learned and what I've done about it. So, my first point is to identify where your nice girl comes from. These nice girl traits often manifest after a particular trauma in your childhood or as a teenager, whether you had an alcoholic dad or a narcissistic mom or a crazy sibling or a mean best friend who always took charge or even a bad love relationship early on in your life. You most likely found that the easiest and safest way to get through those situations was to be agreeable. And in turn, your boundaries started to not matter as much to you, degrading your self-worth and your self-identity because the comfort of others was always made a priority. And this may be hard to hear. It was hard for me to accept in myself, but nice girls tend to gravitate toward relationships that affirm their opinion of themselves. We put ourselves in positions where our fears actually become reality. Let's take love, for example. We feel that desperation to be validated and accepted, so we take on the emotionally unavailable fuckboy who is clearly a fucking flight risk in hopes that we can change him. Because if I change him, I'm validated that I'm actually worth changing for. But if he doesn't, then he's affirming the opinion that I have of myself, that I'm not good enough. Isn't that the most fucked up thing you've ever heard? If you really sit there and analyze why we give so much to people, it becomes less about the other person's needs and more about the validation of our own selves, whether that's positive or negative validation. You also just may be a really nice person, and that's just in your helpful, beautiful nature, but it helps to identify where it all started so you can recognize the particular patterns in yourself and stop them in their tracks before it goes too far. For me, I recognize the pattern of ignoring my gut feelings and pushing them off, which leads me to my next point. Our feelings are our antenna. We know when something isn't right. And I bet you, bitch, you can track down your past situations and say, fuck, I knew it. Even early on, I fucking knew it. Every single time I have been taken advantage of, I knew it in my gut instinct before it even got started. But I would brush it off because that person had a quality I thought I needed. And I realized that when you're having that feeling of desperation, that's when you need to back the fuck up and reassess the situation, because narcissists crave and smell desperation a mile away, and they will feed. Pay attention to those initial nudges about a person or a situation. I'll give you my own example. I used to work with a woman and we were great together. We'd often get compliments saying like, oh my gosh, you guys are gold. You make a great team. Working with her got me really excited, but I'd often leave situations with her feeling this like weird, sick feeling in my gut, even after an amazing day. And at the time, I couldn't pinpoint why I felt that way. But now looking back, I was giving her all my power, and that sick feeling was shame. Isn't that weird? Even my subconscious knew. At the time, I was undervaluing myself, and she was older than me, and I thought, oh my gosh, she has everything I need to succeed. I want to learn from her, but the only thing that I have of value to her is my energy and my time. So I gave it, and I gave it, and I gave it, and every single time I would leave her, I would feel that sick shame feeling because I knew that I was giving too much. And she was using what I was giving to her, all of my talents and all of my energy for her own endeavors. A lot of things happened that were sus, but it wasn't until she completely threw me under the bus in a business meeting that I had had enough. And I stuck up for myself privately after the meeting. And her reaction to my boundary was so full of vitriol. I couldn't believe it. I'll never forget this, but she said in an email exchange shortly after that I overvalued myself. Oh my God, I was so angry that she was so entitled to my energy, but I was mostly angry at myself. See, I fucking knew in my gut that something was off early on, and I shouldn't have put all my eggs in her basket, and I had given her too much of my power. But it was too late to backtrack, to adjust my behaviors. The damage was already done, and I had to cut ties with her completely after that. And I'm so glad that I went through that situation, as hard as it was and as devastating as it was, because I learned my patterns. I learned what other people were going to take advantage of in me as well. And oh my gosh, it says 2222 on my DAW right now. My recording equipment. That's so funny. But I never will let somebody take advantage of me like that again. And the key point is I let them take advantage of me. They were taking what was freely being given to them, and never the motherfuck again. But what happens if you've already established this dynamic in an important relationship in your life? What do you do? Well, it brings me to my next point. People aren't going to like the new you, bitch. See, what we allow is what we will continue to get. Or, as my friend Shallon Lester always says, what you permit is what you promote. So start identifying what you're allowing in your relationships. And this can be any relationship, like, are you letting your kids walk all over you? Are you waiting 11 plus hours for the guy you like to text you back? Are you letting your boss take advantage of your time and letting him stack you with more work? Every time you permit a treatment from someone, you are promoting it to continue to happen. Set those boundaries and do not normalize behavior you're uncomfortable with just to keep the peace. I've noticed that in all of the people-pleasing encounters in my 20s, I permitted people to be entitled to my energy. and my energy is precious. Our presence is a present, literally, and we need to act like that, especially if you're a giver like me. So what do? How do we establish a different dynamic in the important relationships in our lives? Sometimes cutting ties completely is the only answer, but this doesn't have to be a declaration of war. In most situations, pulling back your energy slowly is the key. This is a learning process after all, so start by saying no when you'd normally say yes. I talk about making no your default mode all the time. It is the key to building confidence, in my opinion. So even if you want to do a favor for someone, just say no. Don't explain why you're saying no. Don't apologize for saying no. Just simply and politely say, I appreciate you asking me, but I can't commit to that right now. Done. Period. End of story. And then sit back and see how they react. If by you saying no elicits a reaction of anger and vitriol, then you know that they never had your best interest at heart in the first place and that they were purely using you. If they have a hard time with it and beg a little bit, then stay firm and start distancing yourself away from the person in general. And if they react normally with grace and say, oh, that's okay, then awesome, keep them around. Their reaction is the key identifier of who you'll keep in your life and who you won't. But what if this is your spouse or your kid and they react harshly? Like what the fuck do you do? That's difficult. As hard as that dynamic is at first, you have to stay firm with the new you. The new you is not taking shit. The new you is not giving too much of your energy. I mean, duh, if you have a newborn, obviously, don't do that. You got to take care of the baby. I'm talking about kids that are 12 years or older and they need to learn, yeah, their mom is a real fucking person. You know what I mean? But when you enact, is that even a word? When you start these dynamics with the people that you love, and you're going to get pushback, you are, especially if you're a giver and they're used to that dynamic from you, but you have to stick with it. No matter what, you must stick with the new you, because if you do not, you will receive no respect, none. And you're teaching them that you do not have respect for yourself, which will give them permission and permit them to be disrespectful to you. Absolutely not. No. We're not doing that anymore, broken bitch. It's time to change. We ride at dawn. Ha ha ha. But like I said, this doesn't have to be a declaration of war. You don't have to change overnight. You can just start slowly, start implementing certain things, start saying no a little bit more often, and let the people that you love get used to the new you, get used to the new dynamic of who you are as a person. And the one thing that you can do today is to start addressing things that you're uncomfortable with at the moment. For people pleasers, we tend to keep that inside and we're like, okay, we don't want to rock the boat. We don't know exactly what to say. You don't need to know exactly what to say in the moment. If somebody says something to you or does something and you are feeling uncomfortable about it, you just say that. Hey, I'm uncomfortable with that. I don't like how you just said that to me. And especially if you're dealing with a spouse that's particularly hard on you, or even a friend, you can say, hey, when you say stuff like that, it makes me really uncomfortable and unsafe in your presence. Whoa. If they love you and truly respect you, they will back the fuck up and be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry I made you feel that way. Especially when you say, I'm feeling unsafe. And unsafe is a really strong word because it means a lot of things. It could mean obviously physically unsafe, but for a lot of women, it means emotionally unsafe. I don't feel safe in your presence. I don't feel like I can be myself with you. And that's a big thing for us. We need to feel that freedom with the people that we love. If they're a narcissist, they're going to be like, oh, what makes you unsafe? And they'll start gaslighting you. You'll know by their reaction where they stand with you. And you'll know hey, it's time for a divorce. Fuck you. It's time for a divorce, motherfucker. Oh God. I'm really going ham on this episode. Which brings me to my fourth point. Get comfortable making yourself the priority. Because when you don't put yourself first, you're depending on other people to make you theirs. And darling, trust me, it is so seldom reciprocated. It has never been equally reciprocated in any situation I have ever been in, and nor should have been. If you think about it, that's kind of selfish to even expect someone to give as much as you're giving, right? We're essentially setting ourselves up for disappointment. We're setting ourselves up for failure. So we got to stop doing that and start putting ourselves first. And I know, this isn't our first instinct, especially if you're a nurturing woman, but you have to remember your presence is a gift. Your presence is a present, literally. You make the lives of others better just by being there, and your absence, even in a small capacity, will allow them to fully understand that. I remember being really, really young and knowing that after 7:30 at night to not bother my mom. She would put us to bed, and a few times we would come out and go pee or ask for water, and she would always say this: I have given you my undivided attention for this entire day. I have given you my life. This is my time now. This is my time. And you need to go to bed. Unless you're sick or dying, you don't need anything. Go back to sleep. And this taught me two things. One, my mom was a real fucking person. And two, as an adult, it was perfectly fine to request alone time and to set those boundaries with the ones that I love. And especially not to feel bad about it, because not being nice all the time isn't a rejection of the other person. It's preservation of yourself. Isn't that a good quote? That is not my quote, but yeah, like not being nice all the time isn't a rejection of you. It's a preservation of me, bitch. Fuck yeah. Love that. That's a motto to live by. But to get back to the point of making ourselves a priority, especially if you're finding yourself in family situations where a lot of different people need you at the same time and you don't have a lot of energy to give to yourself, set up sacred hours just like my mom did after 7:30 at night. Your sacred hours may be early in the morning before the house wakes up, or in the afternoon, the hour before the kids get out of school, or in the evening, walking your dog. Make 1 hour or 30 minutes or however much time you can for yourself every single day. Just start there and allow yourself to bloom and be. Nurturing women tend to be very hyperfixated on the happiness of those around us, so start getting hyperfixated on your own happiness. Because when a woman puts herself first, it sets the vibration of her home and everyone around her. That's why Beyonce says, "Who run the world? Girls, girls." Because when we wield our power correctly, we rule, but it starts with us. My fifth and final point is to raise your price. Your time, your value, your effort does not come free. And we are not the dollar store Target sale counter. We're up the escalator at Dillard's, bitch. We're where the silky nightgowns and fancy purses are, okay? Our circle is small, and each relationship we have is a beneficial one. You will feel loved and respected because you raised your price so high, others who can't meet your standards can no longer afford you. Enacting that dark feminine energy is so essential for this step. And I've made an episode about dark feminine energy before that I'll link below in the show notes. But essentially, when we overgive, we have an imbalance of light feminine energy, which is our nurturing, our giving, loving, allowing, vulnerable, light, and playful energy that is truly a gift to those who have the privilege to receive it. And yes, I said privilege. Our dark feminine energy is the protector of this light energy. It's the mysterious and strategic and picky energy that protects the softness within us and exudes the decisiveness and confidence one needs to protect ourselves. So I definitely suggest listening to that episode next if you haven't already. And again, I'll link that dark feminine energy episode in the show notes. So no longer will we be elk for mountain lions to slaughter. Here at Broken Bitches Guide, we are no longer victims. We take control of ourselves and our lives. Remember, when you're feeling that sense of desperation, that's the feeling where you back the fuck up from that situation or that person and assess yourself. These are the moments that you are at your weakest, so make sure you are making sound decisions that are right for you and only you. Because in turn, they will affect the ones you love anyway. So set the vibration of how you want to be treated by treating yourself well first. No more Miss Nice Girl. If you loved this episode, please review this podcast and share this episode so it becomes more visible to besties like you. Until next time, be a fucking delight, bitch. Bye.